There's a challenge that's come up. Actually, it's the first time I've heard it, but it's similar to another kind of challenge. And the challenge is this: how would you respond to someone who tries to connect the story of Jesus to the images and idioms associated with astrology? I think the point here is people want to explain the story of Jesus by simply saying, well, look, there are these astrological folk, these people who believe in astrology, and it's deeply influencing their beliefs. And so what they do is they construct this story about Jesus that is meant to be kind of a personification of their views of astrology, and that's what accounts for the life of Christ. In a way, this is similar to those people who argue that you can dismiss the life of Christ in the Gospels because this is just a revisitation of the ancient dying and rising gods, Messiah myths of ancient times, of the Canaanites and of the Egyptians, etc. Well, both of these concerns, I think, fall afoul of a very simple principle. And this principle is best articulated by C.S. Lewis. And here's the way he put it in the book God in the Dock. He said, first you must show that a person is mistaken before it's reasonable to ask why or how did he come to be mistaken. Now, what these explanations are meant to show is how you account for the life of Jesus written in the Gospels, given that it's false. This is obviously a false story. Well, where did it come from? It didn't come from history. It must have come from these ancient legends, or it must have come from a commitment to astrology. But notice what that approach assumes. It assumes that the account itself is false. Lewis says, first you have to show that a person is wrong before it makes sense to ask why he's mistaken. They have not shown in this case that the gospel accounts, taken on their own merits, are in fact spurious. They're unreliable. That has to be done first. If it turns out that the gospel accounts, taken as primary source historical documentation of the life of Jesus of Nazareth, come up with very high marks when tested by the canons of historical research, then there is no reason for us to ask where they came from, astrology or ancient myths, because the best answer is the place they came from is history. These are good historical documents that recorded what actually happened. Now, if you do the first and you demonstrate these are bad history, then it makes sense, it seems, and as Lewis points out, to ask, well, what accounts for these things that never actually happened? And then these other things are maybe in play. But the first thing has to be done first, and that is you have to demonstrate that the gospel accounts are not sound history. This has not been done by people who raise this issue, and that has to be done before this issue can come into play.